Hey everybody, just give me one moment. I have to find something before we start the live stream. So give me just a minute here, I gotta look for something. Okay, looks like I found it. So welcome everybody. It is Friday, August 11th, 2023. It is 9 o'clock at night here live from SoHo, one of my favorite neighborhoods on the planet, and one of my favorite neighborhoods in New York City. It is a gorgeous night, and we're going to be treated to some amazing architecture tonight. You could already see some of the huge and beautiful cast iron facades, with some of the fire escapes too. Now you'll notice a lot of the original Belgian block streets, so we'll probably do a quick walking tour of those. We'll make sure we hit that. But I think it's important, if I don't get tangled up in the wires here, I think it's important to do a quick recap of what happened this past week. Starting with today. So today, the University of Michigan released their consumer sentiment report, and it actually came in better than expected. So exactly what we talked about yesterday turned out to have happened. It came in at 71.2 versus the 71 reading that was expected. I'm going to go ahead and drop a useful article in the chat so you guys could see. But consumer sentiment is improving in the United States, which is very good. Which is very, very good. Earlier in the week, we did have some notable earnings reports, particularly Disney. So Disney reported their corporate earnings. It was a little bit of a mixed bag, right? I think the biggest bright spot was the parks, right? Disney Parks is still doing relatively well. Actually, still doing exceptionally well. And their partnership with ESPN and their streaming services are not doing so hot, not doing so well, which is also to be expected because there's just so much competition now in streaming. You have Netflix, you have Peacock, you have 1,000 other streaming services under the sun, and it's becoming a very crowded market. Now, the big news is that Disney is going to be raising their prices of Disney Plus, and they are also going to be raising their prices for Hulu. Okay? Additionally, they're going to be cracking down heavy on password sharing. We saw this with Netflix, Reed Hastings' company. We're starting to see this with Bob Iger as well. Now, I think that'll probably increase churn in the short term. But I believe what they're trying to do is maximize profits and increase revenues at any chance they can get. So on the front end, you're probably going to get a little bit of churn due to the price increase. But I think on the back end, due to them cracking down so hard and so harshly on password sharing, I think that'll help a little bit over time. If we just take a quick look at the equity market, the S&P 500 today rallied right off of its 50-day moving average. And we knew this would happen. We knew a correction was coming. And we do have a market pullback now. It is August, and that is very common for the market to perform poorly in August. Usually volumes dry up on major exchanges going into the last holiday of the summer, which is Labor Day. And then after Labor Day, volumes tend to pick up on the exchanges. Hedge fund managers, big investment bankers, all of the composite operators, right, to rip off a phrase from Richard Wyckoff, they start to come back into the office. So a lot of the action is not happening in the market right now. But the top, I should say the intermediate top in the S&P 500 happened on July 27th. The S&P traded at 4,595. We've since corrected almost 4% back down to that 50-day moving average. The weekly close on the S&P was 4,464. We'll take a quick look at crude oil because I do want to also briefly talk about inflation because we got the CPI report yesterday. Crude oil is now back above $80 a barrel, trading at $83.19 as of today. But the biggest story on the street, not only Wall Street, but on Main Street, was inflation. Inflation was the talk of the town, and it was the most important piece of data that we got, and that was the CPI report. One of the things that is encouraging is shelter costs are starting to roll over a little bit, even though 90% of the increase in CPI last month came from, you guessed it, shelter costs. However, looking at the trajectory of those numbers, you're starting to see deceleration in shelter, and that is really the only major category besides food that has remained elevated in comparison to the others. Commodities have come down significantly. Healthcare costs have come down significantly. Food is the number one item that is very sticky, and then shelter as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the laptop here. I will get my backpack on, and we will say hello to everybody in the chat. But I want to wish everybody a very happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. So I wish everybody who's watching this broadcast right now a wonderful, fantastic, healthy, and safe start to your weekend. So give me 1 minute and we'll get started. All right. Weather's a lot nicer tonight. Oof, we are ready to go. Let me just turn on the do not disturb mode. It's funny. Every time right when I start streaming, I have a barrage of text messages and calls coming through. Always tends to happen like that. So welcome to SoHo, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I see Gustavo, DWG, Nicole Smith is here. Big task at hand. My friend Daniel G from Buenos Aires, Argentina. We have a lot of Argentine viewers, so thank you everybody from Argentina that's been joining in. I see my good friend Ben Smith says, love the stream as always. Tom, thank you for the entertainment. Thank you, Ben, for the kind words. It was very nice. I see A Name is here, Battery Grams, Gary Carpenter, Sally, Richard Vogel, Brian Reed, or in the early 2000s, right? On average, for like a cable package, people would pay roughly right around $80 to $120, right? If you really want to throw it back in the day, you had your bundle with your home phone. But I'm sure nobody even has home phones anymore. But anyway, you get the picture. So they said the average consumer, American consumer, when they cancel cable, they can afford to have about 3 to 4 streaming services. And if you look at the data, that's exactly what Americans have done. So instead of canceling cable and saving a little bit of money, no, the vast majority of people, they get the HBO Max, right? They get, DirecTV Plus, they get Netflix, they get Hulu, they get Disney Plus. And before you know it, you're not even saving any money anymore. You're probably paying more for all of the streaming services. So the Barron's article is really good. I wish I could drop a link to it, but on average, in the United States, the average American household has between 3 to 4 streaming services, right? That could include Disney Plus, that could include, HBO On Demand, what's another one? Obviously Netflix. So my question to you guys is, how many streaming services are you subscribed to? More than 3? Less than 2? None? Let us know in the comments. I think that'll be an interesting data point. How many streaming services do you guys currently have subscribed to? Dr. Longest says I cut back on streaming. Joe Driver says you have none. Wow. Joel PM says, who has the time for all that streaming? I can't even keep up with my YouTube channels. Well, isn't YouTube technically its own streaming service? I think it's called YouTube Red, I believe. That's another one. So, I mean, think about the crowdedness of that market. right? Extreme crowdedness. I even think Amazon has their own streaming service now. So that is a big money losing business, unless you can make it work, like Netflix has made it work. Felix says I only have one because I'm a cheapskate. Sam says, can you go to the World Trade Center? We actually are going to go to the World Trade Center today. SoHo says, Tom, I have 3 cables. Interesting, and 2 services. Planes and Trees says, I have YouTube Premium and Paramount Plus. That's another one I don't think I mentioned, Paramount Plus. All right, here is that building we were talking about before. This is 74 Grand Street. There's 2 units on the market, I believe, for rent, $24,000, but they are full floor units with your elevator dropping you off directly into your unit. So this building is fantastic. It has that really rich, very big cast iron facade, floor to ceiling glass windows. And if you're in the penthouse, you actually have a really nice view. You can just see a little bit of the Trade Center, particularly if you're all the way on the roof. Before we head to the World Trade Center, let's take a quick walk through SoHo here at some of the nice, beautiful restaurants. I see Sunshine After Rain, Austin City Limits. Somebody says, what about the eyesore next door? Well, I don't know who owns that land, and I'm trying to find out. But if I had to guess, it's probably going to be some very upscale new development. However, I hope they kind of keep the theme of the architectural integrity intact. Sometimes these developers can come in and build a building that really just doesn't fit in with the other facades of the neighborhood. So fingers crossed. This is Broadway and Grand Street. Look at this. This is a gorgeous shot of One World Trade Center here. You have everybody dining outside because it is much better weather than what it was yesterday. It was raining like crazy almost all night. Today was absolutely beautiful. Bright blue skies, big white puffy clouds. It was fantastic, and tonight's even better. It actually has kind of cooled down too. Hey, Johnny C is here. What is up? Good to see you. Mr. Johnson says, hey Tom, I love watching from India. Hey, what's up? I wanted to ask you, what does a beginner have to do to make it into an investment bank? A beginner have to do to make it in investment banking? Well, I really think it's all about networking, right? And it's not just investment banking. I would say investment banking, management consulting, and even tech if you want to be in tech sales, right? If you want to work for a big telecom company, if you want to work for a software company selling software. In my experience, it's really been all about the network. Now, if you want to go in pure play traditional investment banking, 9 times out of 10, they recruit directly out of an investment banking class from internships, right? So if you've ever heard of a summer analyst position, they'll usually have a summer analyst in, a different department within the investment bank, right? So maybe you're working in mergers and acquisitions, maybe you're in sales and trading, or sometimes they even have you on a rotational program where you sort of work around all the different desks and you see which one is the best fit for you. Now, depending on your performance, they'll give you a return offer, right? So if you perform really well as a summer analyst at, say, Goldman Sachs in sales and trading, you've done a great job, your managing director thinks you're fantastic, your associates and your analysts think you're fantastic, well then you'll get a return offer letter and then you'll get a spot. You'll get a spot on the team. So I would say really work on your network, okay? But have a ridiculous drive and a passion for the industry, right? So if you want to go into sales and trading, you need to live and breathe the equity markets, know what's going on, right? You should be reading the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Investors Business Daily every single day, like clockwork. You need to know it inside and out, right? If you want to work in mergers and acquisitions, what are the top 5 deals that have just closed, right? You need to know that, right? You can't walk in there oblivious. You need to know the market. Is the market frozen? Are there deals? Like, how is the deal flow? Just know the deal flow on Wall Street, and I think you'll stand out. So I would say network like crazy, be an expert in the field, and I think you will not have a problem at all landing a lucrative job on Wall Street. I don't know. What does anybody else think of that advice? Good, bad? I mean, we probably have some, former investment bankers, management consultants, or, just wise words of wisdoms in the chat. Hey, usernames is I miss the days when having a pulse got you a job. I get stressed out just hearing about today's competitive job market. Well, look, I think that these particular fields are very, very competitive because they're very lucrative. That guy was going way too fast. Did you guys see that car? It was like a bullet. Anyway, it's West Broadway. But look, if you want to work in investment banking, if you want to work in private equity, venture capital, even if you want to work in tech, right? It's very, very competitive because so many people want these jobs because they pay really well. But look, you could do anything you set your mind to. I'm very confident and convinced in that.
Yes, seems like it.
If you have a drive and desire, you could do whatever you want. Doesn't matter what school you went to. It doesn't matter, your socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you grew up in. If you want something in the United States of America, you could get it. Full stop. Look at this. This is a really cool ambiance here. Everybody out eating, having a good time. This is classic New York City right here. Now we are standing right outside of Serhant. This is the famous brokerage. I'm sure many of you have heard of Ryan Serhant. From $1 Million Listing New York, he was one of the top brokers on that show. He actually left to start his own broker-dealer, his own brokerage firm, which is now right here on the corner of West Broadway, right as everybody gets onto the Holland Tunnel. It's a really nice building, too. Really blends in well with the architecture of the neighborhood. J49 is here, Atomic Punk NYC. Thanks for joining us. This is Tom. I'm going to study for my CFA charter soon, and then I plan to get my master's in finance at NYU Stern. Yo, that is awesome. Then I plan to get into investment banking. That sounds like a phenomenal plan. It sounds like you're a sharp kid. It sounds like you're going to kill it. And it sounds like you're going to make a ton of money. You're going to be so successful. And I'm honestly shaking because the potential and the opportunity you have is so massive that I wish I was in your spot, to be in my early 20s again. I would do anything to trade places with you. So I think you're fantastic. I think you're on the right track, and I think you're going to kill it in anything and everything that you do. SoHo says, Tom, isn't Serhant worth $400 million? I don't know. I don't know what he's worth. I would probably guess maybe he's worth a little bit more than that, actually. If I had to speculate, which I don't really like speculating on, that kind of stuff, especially someone that, I'll be doing deals with. I would say he's probably going to be worth more than that. I think the brand that he's built, I don't know if he's thinking about taking the company public. I don't know. He's a very disruptive guy, very smart guy, very sharp, great salesperson. Okay, and I think he's done a phenomenal job building a brand. So what is brand value worth? Right? You could do valuation based on brand value alone. I'm not sure how much revenue the company does, but definitely does a lot of business. So I would probably say maybe a little bit more than that, if I had to guess. For sure. In 10 years, way more than that, I would say. Gorgeous shot of One World Trade Center right here. Hey, Jeffet Perez is Jeff Bezos buys $68 million mansion in Florida's exclusive Indian Creek. Wow, did that deal just close? You know, on Tuesday, speaking of South Florida, Indian Creek, I will be traveling. I will be flying to South Florida, particularly Miami, on Tuesday. So from Tuesday night, it depends on when I land, to Thursday, we're probably going to be streaming from Brickell, Coral Gables, and then maybe one day Sarasota, Florida. So it's looking like we're gonna be there. But yeah, I mean, I think Indian Creek is also another is a location. I think Tom Brady owns a home there. Now, did anybody hear that huge notable sale in Connecticut? I think it sold for like $134 million. That place is wild. That place is wild. Joel PM says, Tom, when is the San Francisco trip? Hopefully soon. I really want to go to San Francisco, but I'm working on this deal in Sarasota and it's going well. So I think I'm going to have to put San Francisco on the back burner, at least for this month. Guys, look at this shot here. How cool is that? You have all of the original buildings with the beautiful fire escapes, with these gorgeous clouds in the background. This is a true New York City summer night. Sometimes I just like walking around different neighborhoods, just observing, people watching. Sometimes it just helps you think. You know, after a long week of work, get your collective ready, get your mind right. Gorgeous neighborhood here. Ah, Clarence, you're right, Cooper Beach. So what is the story behind that? Because I think it sold 2 years ago for a similar price point. And who was the broker on that? I think it was a broker from Sotheby's, I believe. I mean, $134 million sale in Connecticut. Wow. I was looking at some photos on Wall Street Journal real estate website. That is a gorgeous place. It's unbelievable. It's a mansion. It's a mega mansion. And it just looks so well kept. It looks so immaculate. Look at this outdoor dining place here. Looks pretty well kept. Hey, Jen's is quiet Friday night. It is a little bit quiet. But usually SoHo, in and around there, is kind of quiet on a Friday night. I think what we'll do, I want to go all the way to Lower Manhattan. I was supposed to be in Dumbo. Brooklyn. But I actually was looking at an interesting property at Broome Street. I posted a little impromptu property tour on my Twitter. This place is so unique. It is a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom penthouse right on Broome Street, and it has 1,300 square foot of exclusive outdoor space. Every single bedroom has access to a terrace, and then your main living space has access to the roof, which is incredible. So even though it's a pre-war building, you could see all the way to the Chrysler Building. I would say the most interesting thing about the building in particular, it was actually a horse stable. Yeah, you heard that right. It was a horse stable for the FDNY way back in the day. A developer bought it and they did a condo conversion. And it's so funny because we've been talking about these condominium conversions all the time. And a developer purchased it and did a really good job repurposing the building from a horse stable into luxurious duplex penthouses. So if you're the type of person that loves to live in historical, rich history, historic New York City buildings that were once horse stables for the New York City Fire Department, maybe that's the penthouse for you. Very unique property, and I was very blessed to be able to tour it today. Yeah, Western Mass Dave's horse stable, very interesting. It was really cool, and you know, the apartment kind of has like undertones and underpinnings of the horse stable. So I think they did a good job keeping everything intact, if you will. Maybe we'll head over to Prince Street Pizza. Hey, Steph UH, as you saw it, very cool. What'd you think about it? It's a unique apartment, right? It's definitely not for everybody. The person who's gonna purchase that apartment is a person who's looking for that apartment, if that makes sense. It is very, very unique piece. I would actually consider it a piece because it's very unique. Tons of outdoor space. Now West Broadway is a little bit wonky because you have traffic coming from both sides. But look at that, it's my favorite shot of the World Trade Center. Yes, Steph UH says I love the ceiling windows. That is another big selling point. So as you come up on your own private elevator, I'm gonna explain it horribly. You guys gotta watch the video. It's such a unique apartment. So you have your own private elevator that drops you off into your private foyer. You see these beautiful oak stairs with glass railing and banister that goes up. It's a split level, it's a duplex, it's crazy. It takes you to your living room. It's an open concept living area. And it has these major, major skylights. So you don't even really need to turn on the lights in the apartment. It gets so much natural light, sometimes almost too much. The person who buys it is probably gonna have to install those like blackout shades. But it's cool, it's unique. That's sort of the way I could explain it, is very unique. Hey, Elijah B, what's up? Good to see you. Troy Atmans is how much did the apartment cost? Well, I can't disclose that yet because I'm having a little bit of a competition on Twitter where whoever guesses the price wins. But if you watch the video, comment on it and let me know your guess. I think it's almost kind of obvious how much it costs, right? Because if you just do a quick search of, you know, comps in the neighborhood, it is very, very closely priced to everything else of same square footage. But what's unique about it is Tribeca SoHo, it's very hard to find a unit with that much outdoor space. These are the original Belgian block streets in New York City. One of my favorite places to walk down. Hey, Mark Francis 7076. Long time no see. I hope you're well, and I hope you're having a good Friday night. Joel PM says the personal elevator would rock. Quick escape from the city for car-free types. You know, I've noticed that, and I believe we've talked about that before. For whatever reason, that is really, really in style now. I don't know why, but that is really in. A lot of new developments are incorporating an elevator that opens up directly into your living room. A lot of people like it. Now, here's my concern. Is that something that is fashionable now, but we're gonna look back on it in 5-10 years and say, whoa, why did we do that? That's a little weird. I don't want my elevator opening, boom, right up into my living room. I personally love it. I think it's fantastic. But I can, you know, looking out maybe 5 or 10 years, I can maybe see how people could be a little bit turned off by that. Now, it's totally private, right? I mean, you have your own custom key fobs, so only you can access your apartment. But I don't know, would that rub a buyer the wrong way? I mean, I'll ask you guys, would you think it's cool to have your exclusive elevator open up into your apartment? Or would you rather have the elevator open up into a hallway and then you go into your apartment privately? I don't know. This building is really nice. Love the fire escapes here. Everything in Soho has really, really high ceilings. Probably like 12-foot, 18-foot ceilings. Hey, Charles Hong says, love the elevator idea. Holmes Robots says, nope, gonna open the elevator one morning to a stranger. Yeah, I mean, I guess in theory that could only happen if you're both in the elevator at the same time. I haven't seen it happen. I think it's more possible for buildings with multiple units, but you know, these are really small. I don't want to say small buildings, but there's only maybe 10 units in the whole building. So hey Steph, what's up? Jafet says I need a front door. So we're about split 50-50 in the chat. Half the people in the chat think it's a good idea, half the people think it's a bad idea. Michelle Henry says it's an interesting concept, not really sure. I think a door opens into a foyer. Yeah, you gotta, I wish I could, I may upload the video to YouTube just so you guys can see on this platform. I know a lot of you don't use Twitter, but the reason why I uploaded it to Twitter or X is because supposedly you're now allowed to upload 4K video, but when I uploaded the video, it didn't really look like it was 4K. Kind of looked a little bit worse quality, but hey, Mariana says as long as there is an elevator operator. Javier says, what happens if the elevator is out? How do you get into your apartment? So you do have stairs, right? So due to fire code and regulation, things like that, you have to have stairs that have access to your apartment. But look, if you're on the 7th floor, you're probably not going to be taking the stairs all the time. If you're on the 10th floor, the 11th floor, you're probably not going to be wanting to take the stairs. But you're right, if the elevator does go out or it's down for maintenance, you would have to take the stairs. A little bit inconvenient. Hey, Smee Media, what's up? Taxi says, can those key fobs be hacked? They cannot. But it definitely is questions that we get all the time, right? Some people really like the idea because it's very cool. Some people don't like it. I think it's very convenient because let's say, you know, you have a bunch of groceries in your hand, right? You don't have to fumble around with your key to try to open the door to get in and then pick pops open. You just put all your stuff down. So I think from a convenience factor, it's fantastic, but there's also give and take, right? Now, I will say, at the Ritz-Carlton residences, and there's another one, I'm just blanking on the name. It's been a long week. My brain is fried, but the Waldorf Astoria, that's it. So they redid the Waldorf Astoria here in New York, right on Park Avenue, and they have private residences in the building. Now, there's private elevators to the units, but they've sort of spun it in a little bit of a different way. So it'll come into your own unit, but you'll have a second door that's locked that goes into your living space. So it's not like if people are in the elevator, it opens up and it's right into your living space. It's probably less than 200, coat hanger, little closet. So you're protected privacy-wise. I think that is good. And the reason why come to your apartment, right? They have hotel services, so if you're getting food delivery, they could leave it right in essentially your mini lobby before it goes into your house, which I think is a good idea. Again, more expensive to do that, but hey, Frank Gonzalez, what's up? This is greetings, Tom. Saludos from stormy Hilton Head. Well, it was stormy here in New York the other day. I'm glad all that's gone. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about. This is classic prime SoHo. Look into those loft-style apartments. Those are at minimum 12-foot ceilings, probably 18-foot ceiling heights. You have all exposed brick. This is a cool building. This is really nice. Hey, Pamela here says hello from North Iowa. Good to see you. Hey, Elijah B. Good to see you. WMs is pretty much anything is hackable with enough time and resources. That's for sure. I mean, in theory, is it hackable? Yeah, of course, in theory, but I mean, the United States government facilities and things like that get hacked all the time, but all right, so we are now on Canal Street. We are going to make a left. We'll go all the way to Chinatown and Little Italy, and then if we have enough time tonight, we'll head all the way to the Brooklyn Bridge. Doesn't seem too crowded out. Now this way will take you all the way to the Holland Tunnel. You can see a lot of the traffic building up, mainly because everybody's leaving the city for the weekend, going out to New Jersey. But we're going to go the other way. We're going to go towards Chinatown. We're going to go towards Little Italy.
It's almost like the cop is being...
Hey, Peter Webley says my friend just bought a house in Omaha for $180,000. I wish that were possible here in New York. We were just talking yesterday on the live stream that in New York City, or I should say in Manhattan, rents hit a new all-time record high. The average rent in Manhattan is just under $6,000 a month, if you can believe that. Just a hair under $6,000 a month is the average rent in Manhattan. Again, averages are kind of skewed data. It's better to look at the median rent, but the median rent's not really much better. It's like $4,600 for the median rent on the island of Manhattan. Talk about crazy. Hey, Big Task at Hand says question says, what do you think about the Financial Times? I like the Financial Times. I just very seldom read it. I read 3 publications. I read the Wall Street Journal, I read Barron's, and I read IBD, Investors Business Daily. That's just me personally. I think, Financial Times, they cover the same stuff, and vice versa as Barron's, Wall Street Journal. So I don't have a subscription. I've read the paper before, obviously, but I do not pay for a subscription. Oh, is that right, Joel PM? Tom Hanks' apartment is at 85 Grand Street? I didn't know that. Hey, Kevin says the wealth gap in the United States is the biggest in the world, isn't it? Well, it's a big problem, and I think you're right about that. Now, I've given my take on why that is in the past, and I think it'd be appropriate to quickly review it again. I think a lot of central banking has caused this problem, particularly the Federal Reserve's monetary policy post the great financial crisis of 2008. And the way I can describe it is who has the access to liquidity and capital? Who has the access to cheap money? It's sophisticated, generally speaking, it's sophisticated institutional grade and accredited investors. So over the last decade, our monetary policy in the US, we've essentially gamed the system so that it's easier for wealthy people to become more wealthy, right? If you're an accredited investor, if you make a certain amount of money, well then, over the course of the last decade, you were able to essentially borrow as much cheap money as possible. Now that's changing a little bit, right? Because what changed? Inflation changed, and inflation went crazy in the United States, so the Federal Reserve had to do a 180 on their monetary policy and actually start to raise interest rates. So the current Fed funds rate right now is 5.25% to 5.5%, which is right around where it should peak out. I don't think the Fed is going to raise any more per se. So the cost of capital is significantly higher now. But if you think about what that means and what that meant over the last 12 years, it meant that asset prices were being inflated away. If you want to talk about inflation, what we've really had is asset price inflation. Because when interest rates are extremely, extremely low, if you want to talk about, the equity market, a lot of stocks go through multiple expansion. So they'll trade at ridiculous valuations in terms of price to earnings and price to sales, and everything gets very, very wonky, right? And we've talked about this because if you think about building a discounted cash flow analysis, right, a DCF model, essentially, and Bill Ackman has explained this phenomenally, very, very well. Essentially, what investing is, it's determining the present value of a company's future cash flows, right? That's essentially what it is. It's determining the present value of a company's future earnings or future cash flows. And when interest rates are held, artificially suppressed, a company's present value of their future cash flows are worth a lot more. So when the Fed started to raise rates, that's why you saw a lot of these high beta growth stocks getting crushed. Especially a lot of the SaaS, software as a service stocks, because a lot of them had very little earnings. So if your risk-free rate goes up, the present value of those companies' future cash flows declines significantly, right? If you look at a one-year US Treasury right now, it's just under 5.5%. That is pretty significant, right? So imagine if you have $2 million, right? You have $2 million liquid, and you just dump the whole thing into one-year US Treasuries. Well, you just bought yourself $110,000 yearly income risk-free. Now, many of you would say, "Oh yeah, but 5.5%. I could just put my money in the stock market, and it tends to grow a lot more than that. And the market is up double digits this year." You're 100% correct. But in the investment business, you have to calculate in your risk and your volatility risk too. Stocks tend to be a lot more volatile. So 5.5%, it's not necessarily the yield that is super attractive, but the yield is very attractive. But what's extremely attractive about the deal is that it has no volatility risk, so zero vol risk, and it's a risk-free rate of return. right? Because the United States government is not going to default on its debt obligations. It's just not going to happen. So, when you talk about the wealth divide, 90% of all the equities are owned by 10% of the Americans, right? The vast majority of people do not own stocks. They do not own real estate. It's very, very wealthy families who own real estate and equities. So as the prices of these assets are going up, well, what's happening? There's two things that are happening. It's becoming very difficult for the average person to acquire these assets that are getting very expensive. And number two, it's ballooning the net worth of a lot of these families and ultra high net worth individuals who own the lion's share of these assets. So it is a big issue. And the problem that I have with it, and I have a really big problem with this, is capitalism takes the fall for this. Okay, people are like, oh my God, look at all this wealth disparity in the United States. This is horrible. Capitalism is to blame. But you don't know what you're talking about because you don't understand capitalism. What we have with fiat currency system and fractional reserve banking and the Federal Reserve artificially suppressing rates, that's corporate socialism. That is privatizing the gains and socializing the losses. And that's exactly what happened in 2008 when we bailed out all of the major investment banks, right? We didn't let them go under. We had a bailout. That is socializing the losses and privatizing the gains. So I would argue that that is crony capitalism. It's a form of crony capitalism, not pure play free market. So that is my only gripe with the system, but I think we just need to adapt and learn how to live in it, unfortunately. So I'm definitely not a fan of central banks. I'm more of an end the Fed type person, but that's just me. I got to point this spot out here. This is 456 69 Mott Street, New Shanghai Restaurant. It's one of my favorite places to come in Chinatown. It's fantastic. I would say it's probably top 2 restaurants in Chinatown. Number 1 right here. Number 2 is right here. It's called Ming Wong. Fantastic. Mott Street is where you got to come. All right, let me catch up on some of the comments. Yo, Evan Weeks, what's up? This is Tom. What about the issue of greedflation, where we have companies complaining about costs while posting record profits? Now, I do see how that could be an argument, and I am very understanding of that. But here's the issue, right? The problem is corporations, especially if you're publicly traded, you have a duty. It's actually illegal to not maximize profits. Did anybody know that? If you don't maximize profits, it's actually illegal. You especially if you're a publicly traded company, you need to maximize profits. So when you had this big inflation surge, and I actually had to deal with this in my previous role. In my previous role, I was director of enterprise sales for a major MSP, managed service provider. And when our costs, right, would go through the roof, I would need to pass that cost on to the customer. But here's the problem. When you get to a certain size, you're signing contracts, purchase agreement contracts with different suppliers. And assuming that those costs were going to continue to increase by X%, well, I would front load all of my price hikes, right? Because if I have a buyer, I can't keep changing the price on my buyers. It just doesn't work that way. I need to have a set price where I can lock that price in for, let's say, 8 to 12, maybe even 24 months, depending on what the solution is. So if you look at corporate earnings from 2021 until now, you saw an explosion, right, in corporate profits. And that is because corporations need to front load and build themselves a cushion. Because if you have projections that your costs are going to go up, let's say 20% in your raw materials. Well, you need to pass that cost on to the consumer in an appropriate way where you build yourself a buffer, where you're not continually, raising prices, lowering prices, because it's purchased through purchase agreements. So I get the greedflation thing, and I understand that. But if we go further and further and further down the line, the problem is, in my view, in my opinion, doesn't mean I'm right, is the system, is the endless money printing, is the fiat monetary system. That is the problem. It's the corporations aren't the problem. The corporations are just trying to provide a product or a service at the lowest possible cost. But, so generally I agree, but also I think that gets too much of the headline, in my view. But look, could be wrong. I'm open to hearing other opinions. Brad Vance is exactly so they keep making billions off of the common person. Lisa says, I don't want to pay more taxes in New York City. We're being destroyed by the mayor and his insane policies. Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very highly taxed city. And there's a lot of problems here. But I still think there's fantastic opportunities in New York City. But I definitely agree. I think the taxes are way too high here. This is probably top 5 places in Chinatown to eat. Great Noodle Town, New York. It's right off of the Bowery. And also right at the entrance of the walking and bike path of the Manhattan Bridge. I'll actually stand back over here so you guys can see it, and then I'll catch up on some of the comments. Oh, there's actually a line out the door. But Evan Weeks, good to see you, man. Long time no see. Hey, Brad's Brain says, a shareholder is suing Target for their share price losses. Hold on, the chat's moving too fast on me. I apologize. Meld says, have you all heard the outdoor dining sheds are going to be permanent? I actually kind of like some of the outdoor dining sheds. Kevin says, countries that pay more tax, similar wealth gap, better public service are always happier countries, says Kevin. Tom AK says shrinkflation. Ooh, someone's talking about stock buybacks. That's another scheme that we could talk about. Now, here's the issue with stock buybacks, which goes into the exact argument we were making about artificially suppressed interest rates and allowing corporations to have access to unlimited cheap money. So a lot of people who work on Wall Street get upset with me when I say this, but it's true. I want you to do a homework assignment here, okay? Go back over the last 5 years and do a comparative analysis of share buybacks. Now, for those of you who don't know what a share buyback is, it's when a company actually purchases their own stock, right? And what happens when a company purchases their own stock, it reduces the amount of shares outstanding on the market, thus increasing the earnings per share. Does that make sense? So one of the things that investors look for, which we talk about all the time on the stream, this is such a cool street here, is EPS growth. So EPS growth, earnings per share growth. So companies and corporations have been taking money off the from the balance sheet and repurchasing their shares. Hold on, let me fix my mic. But companies have also been taking out loans, so borrowing money at very, very low interest rates and just buying back their stock, right? So instead of taking the money and spending it on research and development to build new products and services, what corporations have been doing is going on a share repurchase program binge.
So taking billions of dollars, sometimes borrowing that cash, and just buying back tons and tons and tons of their own stock. So that is actually one way, by the way, allegedly, corporations can manipulate their share price higher. So at the end of the year, anybody who has stock-based compensation, which, maybe you have equity options or something like that, it'll hit your strike price. So if you can launch a massive stock buyback program and announce that during the earnings call, well, the stock is probably going to gap up and rally, depending on if your earnings were great. Stock buyback is just an icing on the cake, if you will. And if you look at a lot of the executive compensation, a lot of it is options. So if they, in their contract, it's, if you can have the stock price hit a specific number by this date, you get X amount of money, right? So share repurchase programs have been coming under fire. So much so that the Biden administration actually passed a bill, excuse me, I got some water, but actually passed a bill where come January 1st of 2023, so the first of this year, any corporation who launches a stock repurchase program is going to be subject to a 1% excise tax, right? So let's say if you launch a $2 billion stock buyback program, you're going to have to pay 1% on that value, right? So it's a tax. And there were many analysts on Wall Street that were arguing and saying, oh my gosh, if you tax stock buybacks, companies aren't going to purchase back their stock, and the equity market is going to suffer. The exact opposite happened. Companies purchased back more of their stock, and I believe in 2023 we are on record for the largest start to the year for stock buybacks. So the 1% tax actually hasn't deterred corporations from buying back stock at all, at least from what the data is showing us now. This is such a cool street in Chinatown. I love coming down here. You have everybody dining outside. Very, very unique here. Hey, Brad's Brain, says Tom, the Target guy is suing Target over recent marketing. It's a curious angle. I'd assume he's saying they didn't operate responsibly for shareholders. Are you talking about the close, the Pride Month close debacle that was going on or something like that? Is that what everybody was all upset about or something like that? I saw something on the news about that briefly, where they had to move some of the merchandise to the back of the store or something, or they partnered with somebody who got canceled. I don't know. I very, very seldom go to Target, but is that what you're referring to, Brad? The lawsuit? Look at this. This is a cool, I'm going to take you guys down here. I'm so glad we're here. You guys are going to be blown away, okay? Your face is about to blow off with the view I'm going to show you as we walk all the way down to the water. It's crazy. You're going to be able to see the Brooklyn Bridge. You're going to be able to see the Manhattan Bridge. And you're also going to be able to see one of my favorite new developments in all of New York City. It's called Olympia Dumbo. I don't think I've ever taken you guys down here on the live stream, so let's do that. It is very different, you're going to notice. And the views are beautiful down here. Oh, Billy Johnson says, Tom, what are your thoughts on the ARM IPO? So ARM is, was a SoftBank company, right? I believe they're a British semiconductor firm. Is that right? Now, Masa-san, well, before I go off on a tangent, let me confirm that that's actually the company, because my brain is a little bit fuzzy. This week was very long for me. But I believe ARM is a British, semiconductor firm that had a huge investment from Masa-san of SoftBank. Jen Claus, yes, you're correct. So Olympia Dumbo is in Dumbo, Brooklyn. I know I told you guys we were going to start streaming from Dumbo tonight. I couldn't make it there. My plans totally changed throughout the entire day. This is the Manhattan Bridge. Look at this. This is a really unique shot here. That's the on-ramp to the Manhattan Bridge. And this is the spire of the World Trade Center right here. Hey, Mel, says you guys were an hour into this. Oh, thank you, Meld. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you are, I would say if you're enjoying the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually do these live streams starting at 8:30 p.m. So we'd love to have you join. So yeah, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Hey, GM says, if only you didn't have to 4K a month to live in a shoebox, I'd love to live there. Yeah, I mean, look, that's a fair criticism. There's really no pushback I can give on that. Particularly after the data we just got out, the average rent in Manhattan is just under $6,000 a month. That's the average rent. The median rent is right about $4,600 a month. Now, again, this is on the island of Manhattan. And yeah, studio apartments could be 450 square feet, 500 square feet. You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Look at this. This is a great shot of the World Trade Center here. Hey, Hang with Mark Mom says, I grew up on Henry Street. What memories? Hang with Mark Mom. I'm so glad you're here. I never take you guys over here. I don't know why. I realized that the other day. I think this is actually Catherine Street, I think. Very seldom do I even come here, but you guys gotta come here, okay? You walk all the way to the end. Now, the internet may be spotty because there's a big construction zone. They're doing tons of construction under the FDR. But once you go all the way to the water, you know what's cool? We're actually going to be able to walk past 1 Manhattan Square tonight, too. So 1 Manhattan Square, we always see it when we walk over the Manhattan Bridge. And 1 Manhattan Square is a new development by Xtel. So to review, Xtel did 157, they did Central Park Tower. Those are probably the two most notable buildings that they did. And now they did a brand new development, ultra luxurious, right down here, right on the other side of the Manhattan Bridge. So I think we're gonna make good time tonight. We'll be able to see all those developments, but what I'm most excited to show you is the gorgeous views of both bridges, Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, and depending on where we're standing, you'll also be able to see a little bit, like a teeny piece of the Williamsburg Bridge too. And then we'll zoom in on Olympia Dumbo. But it's very quiet down here, very quiet. Angry Empathy. It's been okay. To say there's none would be a lie. There's definitely been an uptick in it, but it is getting better, and I'm optimistic about that, to be honest. But it has been getting worse since the pandemic, in just full transparency there. Hey, the Bighorn MT, what's up? Cherry Street. I used to play pickup soccer here. Let's see if the lights are still on at the soccer field. They're not. But this is it. Check it out, guys. This is 1 Manhattan Square. This is that Xtel development. The lights aren't on, but we'll take a walk past the soccer field anyway for memories. I used to play pickup games here in college. Hey, Hang with Mark Moms is very low income back in the 70s. Slum community back in the day. Yeah, it was a lot of NYCHA housing here. But, you know, I think the neighborhood, anywhere, I think you could say anywhere in New York City, is going under gentrification. But look, this is it. This is the soccer field. Whoa, this is a walk down memory lane. Imagine 18 and 19-year-old walks in Wall Street coming here to play soccer. Wow, I haven't stepped on this turf in years, man. This was a fun time. I love this neighborhood of Manhattan. I don't know why I really don't know why I don't stream here more often. And look, on this particular field, look at how insane this view is. So imagine playing a pickup game of soccer and your view is the Manhattan Bridge. That is so cool. That is amazing. So we're gonna exit the soccer field, go past the basketball courts, bang a right, and go to the water. I just thought we'd take a quick pit stop here, might as well. Hey, wow, we have people watching from Ghana. Thanks for joining. Speaking of soccer, whenever there's the World Cup, Ghana is one of my favorite teams to watch. One of the most notable games for me, anyway, I believe was the 2014 World Cup when the US played Ghana. That was a great game. Richard Vogel, it is AstroTurf. A lot of times in the city you'll see turf. Very seldom do you have regular grass just due to maintenance. I did appreciate the view. Yeah, I mean, African teams, they play a very specific style of soccer. Now, for maybe those non-soccer players, you won't really know what I'm talking about, but if anybody's played soccer throughout college or even semi-professionally, you'll sort of know what I'm talking about. Every country has its specific style and a specific flair. To the untrained eye, if you will, you may think soccer just looks like soccer. Couldn't be, no. Not at all, not at all. Not in the slightest. And a lot of African nations play a very, very energetic, physical style, which is a joy to watch. You know what? I think you could just see Jane's Carousel. I think that's Jane's Carousel. Hold on one second. Yeah. Yep. So this is Water Street. And you'll be able to see Jane's Carousel all the way in Dumbo. And a cool shot of the Manhattan Bridge right here. Ooh, yeah, Narcos is Ghana versus Uruguay in 2010 was a classic. So the 2010 World Cup was in South Africa, right? I'm trying to think. 10, 12, 13, 14. Or was it 20? Who hosted the FIFA World Cup in 2010? I think it was South Africa, right? 2010? 2014 was Brazil. You're right. 2010 was South Africa. 2014 Brazil. That was my favorite World Cup. I'm just going to say it. I remember, do you guys want to know something crazy? Not to turn the whole stream into a soccer broadcast, but we might as well. It's Friday night. I mean, we put in a lot of work and we covered a ton of stuff this week. I still have the Coca-Cola cans that were branded the 2010 FIFA World Cup. I actually still have some Coca-Cola cans unopened from the 2010 World Cup. I don't know if they're worth anything, but it's kind of a cool collector's item. Anyway, look at this, guys. We are now right on the water. This guy's, I think, is gonna go fishing. It's just kind of cool. We'll check that out in a minute. But this is a gorgeous view of the Manhattan Bridge. I mean, my God, look at how gorgeous that is. And you're overlooking to Brooklyn. So not only did you see the Manhattan Bridge, but you have an unobstructed view of the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, we talked about real estate a lot this week on the live stream, and I want to show you one of my favorite, absolute favorite new developments in New York City. And it's right here. This building is called Olympia Dumbo. It is one of the best-selling new developments in New York City right now. It is fantastic. It has 2 swimming pools, 1 indoor, 1 outdoor. It has a full regulation tennis court, which they actually just put in. They actually had to wait for the summer to put in that tennis court just so the court would settle correctly. And it has breathtaking views of not only the Manhattan Bridge, but the Brooklyn Bridge and all of Lower Manhattan. If you want to see an exclusive tour of that, if you click in the description of this video, I think I posted a lot of those videos on my Twitter and my Instagram page. So if you want to see what some of the units look like, including the penthouse that is not finished yet, go check it out. But Olympia Dumbo, amazing, amazing building. And the developer and the architect wanted to make the building all about being nautical, right? The ocean, sailboats. So if you look closely, if you go to Google Images and just type in Olympia Dumbo, the facade of the building mimics that of a sail on a sailboat. That was the whole story there. So kind of cool. A lot of interesting history. I mean, looking at this skyline of Brooklyn, you know, if you didn't, know the developers and know the architects, you really wouldn't know the rich history behind a lot of these developments in New York City. So kind of cool. All right, what I want to do is actually walk back this way so we could see a little bit of the Williamsburg Bridge. And then we'll head towards the Brooklyn Bridge. But first we'll go this way, because I don't think I've ever taken you guys on this walking path before. Yeah, Roberts must have a great view of the Manhattan skyline. It's probably one of my favorites. And very close to Manhattan. One stop on the train and you're right there. Knockos says, Tom, you should do a pickup soccer stream even for 20 minutes. I'm down to do that. I mean, if anybody is a part of any men's leagues in Manhattan or Miami or even co-ed, I would love to join that. I would love to join that. Hey, Phil is here. What's up, Phil? Very peaceful here. John, not the new developments. They've been opening a lot of the hotels and such, not the new developments though. Yeah, Michael Joseph, this is a little bit new, and that's why you sort of have the narrow path here. The bike path used to go under this, so they've sort of extended it over to the right. Now, I think it's going to be a park, I think. You could hear the subway going over the Manhattan Bridge. FredX. Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure. So we are now walking directly under the Manhattan Bridge. Maybe we should swim across. Really cool. And I love how the city built all of these chairs. You can come here, have a drink, relax. You can hear the subway going over the bridge. Lots of nice seating area all the way over here. Now if we stick our head out around here, if you look very, very closely, you'll be able to see the Williamsburg Bridge right in the distance over there. This is a cool shot of Manhattan. So we've just walked under the Manhattan Bridge now. This is the brand new tower that was in place of the Dimes Savings Bank in Brooklyn, in downtown Brooklyn. If you look closely, you could see people riding their bikes over the bridge. You'll see a little flashing light. You see them? Very cool. So again, this is Olympia Dumbo. So imagine the views from your apartment looking right at the bridge. Now you would think, well, maybe the apartments are very noisy. Well, you're actually wrong. They have double thick, double pane glass windows. So if all the windows and doors are shut in the apartment, you can't hear a thing. It is wild. Look at this boat coming by. Yeah, Brad's Brain. This would be a really cool place just to sort of, you know, if you're working remote, come here, set. All right, let's head back this way. I don't want to go too far. And this is going to be a park. So this is going to be an entire park all the way around. So our final destination is going to be right here. This is the South Street Seaport and the Tin Building. This walking path and bike path goes all the way down here. Yeah, Matteo, I've noticed that. Tonight the comments have been a little bit wild, but I think that's just because the stream is growing and I think unfortunately more people are seeing it. I mean, fortunately, more people are seeing it, but that also means people that are trying to cause trouble are also seeing it. Hey, Alfredo's is visiting for the first time. Where do I get great pizza? So I'll give you a few recommendations, Alfonso. First and foremost, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We value your viewership here. I would go to the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and I would go to a place called Made in New York Pizza. I believe it's on West 80th Street or West 81st Street. It's a very good place. It's going to have no line. You're not going to wait for 2 or 3 hours at Joe's, which is a tourist attraction, which I don't really think has good pizza anyway. That's a great spot. So Made in New York Pizza on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Can't go wrong there. And when you grab your slice of pizza, you'll be able to take your pick between Riverside Park and Central Park. So this is Jane's Carousel. I'm actually going to zoom in right here. This is Jane's Carousel, right in Dumbo, Brooklyn. Hey, WM, thank you so much for your very kind donation. Appreciate it. Says, love the stream, keep doing what you do. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it very, very much. Ooh, someone says best place for craft coffee in New York. I have a ton of places, okay? I'm gonna give you my top 3. I think this guy's got something on the line here. Let's see what this guy's got. Maybe he's got a shark on the line. You know, they closed Rockaway Beach because some lady unfortunately got bit by a shark, which is horrible. I hope she's okay. But let's see what this guy's got. Looks like he had something. Anyway, back to the coffee. You gotta check out Gasoline Alley Coffee in NoHo. Oh, he does, he's got a fish. Let's ask him if we could see it. What kind of fish? Oh, wow. Do you know what the name? Do you know the name of the fish? Cool. Have a good night. That's awesome. People actually fish off of this thing. Anybody know what kind of fish that was? Anyway, so you got to try Gasoline Alley Coffee in NoHo. It is fantastic. It's one of my favorite spots. Then you're going to go to the Upper West Side of Manhattan on 79th Street. You're going to take the 1 train to 79th Street Station. And you're going to go to... Oh, I think he's got a crab on the line. Maybe they use that as bait. Then you're going to go to Irving Farm Coffee Roasters on 79th Street, Manhattan. It's fantastic. And then I would say my third favorite is probably Black Press Coffee, which is 72nd Street and Columbus Avenue. They're phenomenal. I think you're gonna love it. And when you go there, let me know what you think. Those are probably my top 3 go-to. Joe Driver says you think the fish was a snapper. Lots of people fishing out tonight. This is a cool little underpass here. Brooklyn Bridge in the distance. Manhattan Bridge in the distance on this side. Someone says for an particularly drink, but I would go to Grand Central Station and I would go to the Campbell Bar at the Campbell Apartments. I think you're gonna really, really like that. Okay. CMP's is any good bagel shops? Lots. Now, if anybody is traveling to New York, you're planning a trip here, you're planning to move here, and you need suggestions, recommendations, or you need any help, send me an email or send me a direct message. I'll help all day, every day. It's what I like to do. So please, don't hesitate to reach out. This is going to be a little bit of a narrow walkway here. Yes, you're correct. This is a little bit of an industrious stream tonight. Very different than what we usually tour. But I think this is good because very few of you ever see some of this stuff. It actually smells really good down here since we're near the water. Yeah, Elijah B says it looks a little bit sus, for sure, for sure. Hey, Anthony's here. Hello, Tom. Love watching the channel. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for being here. Now, my favorite bagel spot is actually in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. It's not in Manhattan. Oh, actually, I lied. I just lied. I just totally lied to all of you. You want to know what my favorite bagel spot is of all time? This is like the best bagel spot in the world. Not even in Manhattan. It's in the entire world. It's called Leo's Bagels. I'll say that one more time. It's in Lower Manhattan, and it's called Leo's Bagels. Now, it's only open at 3 o'clock, so you got to get there early. And I think it closes at 1 o'clock on Sundays. But it's right at Hanover Square. And when I used to work down on Wall Street, not in finance, in tech, but our office was physically on the street of Wall Street, next to Deutsche Bank. I would go there every morning. The place is unbelievable. So I would suggest, if you want to go to the best bagel place in New York, you got to go to Leo's Bagels right at Hanover Square. It's fantastic. This is 130 William. This is one of the most, I would say, one of the best-selling condominiums in New York City. It's 90% sold out, and it's the best-selling apartment or a condominium in Lower Manhattan. So we only have a couple, I would say maybe a quarter mile to go until we've reached our destination. And One World Trade Center should be peeking its head around the corner right here. If you keep your eyes focused, you'll see One World Trade Center in just a minute. Oh, Long Island 2 has fantastic bagels. Hey, Anthony, thank you so much for your very kind $5 donation. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the support. So we've just walked under the Manhattan Bridge. Now we are walking directly under the Brooklyn Bridge. So these are all the on-ramps to the Brooklyn Bridge, right here. I'm sure many of you have never seen the Brooklyn Bridge from this angle. But yeah, anytime you go out to Nassau County, any bagel shop is going to be better than Manhattan, in my opinion. Hey, the Wizards is Tom Ballpark. How much to build one of those high-rise apartment buildings? Well, that's what I want to do. I want to have my own building here. Similar to 130 Williams, similar to Central Park Tower. That's what I want to do before I die. I want to lead a development project on an amazing building, like a trophy building in Manhattan. It could be expensive. You're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and very, very high risk. Sometimes $1 billion for one of those towers. I think 157 cost $1 billion to build, I think. Maybe it was Central Park Tower, but it's expensive. But I don't know, I think it'd be cool to at least be a part of a development team who develops trophy properties in Manhattan. But really be involved in it, right? Work with the architects, work with the developers. That's what I want to do. I think long term, that's what I want to do. Both in Manhattan and Miami, because these are the two cities that I think are the greatest cities on earth. I mean, how could you not think New York City is the greatest city on earth? I mean, look at this. We're live streaming under 2 bridges with amazing views at 11 o'clock at night. It's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, depending on the size, right? Like a 130 William, those ultra luxury condominiums, those are going to be way more expensive, than a regular multifamily property. But I think before I die, right, please God, I, live into my 90s, I would like to have, at least a helping hand into developing one of those buildings. Hey, Alexander, what's up? Good to see you. Now, does anybody notice where we are? This is one of our favorite streaming spots. This is the South Street Seaport, and this is the Tin Building. Let's see if it's any busy tonight. Again, beautiful Belgian block streets. Lots of people outdoor dining. And a great shot of One World Trade. Yeah, Joel PM says you need to network with some architects. Absolutely. I mean, over the last 8 months, that's what I've been doing. I've been working with some very, very well-renowned and notable developers, top sales teams that sell ultra-luxury real estate, and working with some awesome architects. So, you're right. It's a tough business. I think it requires a lot of networking, but that's what I'm used to. I'm a sales guy. I've been in sales my entire life. I've been in tech sales. Oh, no way. Look at this. Is this DeFara Pizza? There's no way they opened a spot here. Okay, whoever was talking about what's the best pizza place, this is it. But I don't know if this spot is going to be the same as the one in Brooklyn, New York. So DeFara Pizza is fantastic. The original location, I think, is in Brooklyn, New York, but maybe they just opened a satellite store right here. I mean, if not, it's a very, very similar name. But yeah, DeFara is bar none the best place in the 5 boroughs, for sure. Okay. Welcome everybody to the Tin Building. This is the first summer that the Tin Building is officially open for operations. It has bars, it has restaurants, it has very boutique grocery stores. It has everything you could imagine right here. I think they're just closing up, but it looks really nice. Everything looks brand new. You still have some diners outside. Usually we enter from the other side, but you have all bars, you have restaurants, you have like a couple grocery stores inside. It's really nice. And this is the first summer that it's fully open, right here at the South Street Seaport. The Tin Building open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. So it's probably closed now. And you can see all the patrons coming out and going back into the seaport. Now here's the outdoor bar, which should still be open. Yeah, it is. This is like an outdoor, not really dining space. I think it's exclusive to the bar. But it's really nice. What do you guys think? Would you come here? Would you come to the Tin Building? Yeah, Evan Weeks says it looks almost like Seattle's Pike Place Market. It's a really nice environment here. And then your view is overlooking all the shipyards here and Lower Manhattan. But everybody, I do want to apologize real quick because we are running low on the battery and I do need to cut the stream a little bit short tonight, which I apologize for, but I want to thank all of you for coming out. I thought this was a really fun stream. We sort of got off topic and went on a beaten path, but I think those are the best live streams. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I mean, we had great views of the Manhattan Bridge, great views of the Brooklyn Bridge. We talked about real estate. We talked about the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index that came out. We did a quick recap on inflation, and I got to show you guys around the Tin Building. So I want to wish you all a very happy, healthy, and safe start to your weekend. Use the time to recharge your batteries, get some good reading in so we could all hit it hard come Monday morning. So Joe Driver, thank you so much. Michelle Henry, NNB 045 from Canada, thank you so much for joining. Keith Kerr, Unij 23, Mark, Western Mass Dave, Hang with Mark Mom, Dusty Cole, Smee Media, Anthony, Jim I, Joan K, Meld, Alfonso, Madison 32, Latha, all of our moderators. Have a great weekend. We will see you back here live tomorrow at 8:30 on Walks on Wall Street. There's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Be safe. Have a great weekend.